Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Conversation Is podcast. I'm Charlie Pitson, and with me is...
Joshy boy, how goes it?
Good. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm ready for Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz, that's what we're doing this week. Yeah. So apparently this building was, abandoned.
I can see that, to be fair. I mean, there's...
it's just a nice open
just
space.
No one there. This is a good opening shot as well.
Yeah. I still think the World's End's got the best opening of all three.
Yeah, actually, I agree.
I mean, after we watched it earlier, I think that
Police
it's just a bit more entertaining.
Yeah. I get you. Although, just him walking up to the camera and going, Police Constable
Yeah.
Nicholas H.
So, it's one thing about that narration, right? Apparently it's not Simon Pegg.
See, I disagree.
So you think it is Simon Pegg?
It has to be.
No, mate. I mean, I think it is him.
Oh yeah, but that's what I mean.
I've been told it's not, and I just don't believe it.
I don't believe
it.
That.
It sounds exactly like him, just doing the kind of voice.
It just is Simon Pegg.
So,
especially because he does that voice later on in the film.
Yeah,
and it's just it's the same voice.
I mean, I googled it and I couldn't find anything about it. So I mean, that just proves that he narrates it, and which makes it funnier. But him doing all these little close-up shots of him when he's the montage of all the kind of
the crazy stuff.
The crazy stuff that he's the fun runner and he's was something about a bicycle and a car, whatever.
Yeah, something about a bicycle and a car.
And
then he became the head of the SWAT team or something like that.
Yeah, shot a crackhead with a Kalashnikov. Yeah.
Oh my god. This is such a funny film. It is so funny. The bit I like about the end as well is that you think it's a conspiracy and he comes up with this massive conspiracy about why people were doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
And then they're all just oh, well, no, we didn't like his house, so we murdered him.
Yeah.
And it's just well, so none of the conspiracy stuff.
She wanted to sell her land for something else, so we killed her with our own shears.
Yeah.
Sorry, she tripped.
Yeah, she tripped.
Well, then you're packed already.
Well, then you're packed.
I fucking love that.
Hi, Nicholas. How's the hand? There's
so
many. Do you know what? We had this conversation a couple of weeks ago as well. Is about which film is more quotable from Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead. What did we agree on?
We didn't count The World's End because we've only.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, which we should have because
it does get
spoilers.
Better.
We watched it earlier.
We watched it earlier, yeah.
And it is a really, really good film. It's got
really good.
It's got 89% of Rotten Tomatoes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
As well, it's quite a highly rated film, but I just don't know why. I think it's just because
there's
these
something
two are
about it.
perfect.
These kind of feel it's just more of the style of the film. Not so much how he composes his shots and the transitions. It's just the style of it, and it feels almost like a new kind of wave of Edgar Wright. World's End and Baby Driver kind of almost have the same feeling rather than
different cameras, just difference. It's.
I mean, yeah, okay, it's a sci-fi film, so I'm guessing he's trying something a bit different.
But the whole look of the films is different.
But you can feel a connection between
Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz.
Yeah. There's just a look to it that that they fit together in the same universe, but.
It's almost like they were filmed at the same time because they're very, very similar in the way they.
And then obviously, he did take a big break in between. I think it was 6 years.
Oh yeah, of course.
So he did Scott Pilgrim,
which is why
dead in between.
Which is why it was so different. Because
I think he did learn some different. Scott Pilgrim looked different, so you're kind of used to this look, and then obviously it changed with Scott Pilgrim, and I think he carries that on with The World's End, but brings a little bit of this into it, so it kind of has a mix and match of kind of two different styles clashing. I think that's kind of how it is.
His early style and his later style together.
And it kind of clashes in a way where you're not quite sure where the identity lies. Is it a solo film that somehow shares similar, jokes and gags or whatever from the previous two films? Or is it the third film with just a little bit of a different style to it? And I don't know. I think that's what pushes it away from it being... that's why it's the bottom of the list for me between all three of them.
I get you.
But yeah, we watched that earlier.
Yeah, it was a good film.
Yeah.
I liked it. I mean, it's not as good as the first two, but that just kind of speaks volumes of how good the first two actually are. They're pretty much perfect films.
Yeah. I don't know as well. It's just kind of maybe the fact that they switch characters in a way. Nick Frost, Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
Where Simon Pegg becomes the kind of the out of control.
The fuck up. Yeah.
I mean, he's not so much perfect as Sean, but Ed's a lot worse. If you get me, Sean is, he's doing bad. He needs to sort his life out, as he says.
But he's better off. He's better off than Ed, though.
He's better off than Ed, yeah. And he's not the same in this, but he's better than Danny. Like, he's a better police officer than Danny, but it's only because he's had this kind of experience of living in London, central London, and all these kind of...
Yeah, he's like a top police officer, whereas Danny's just he's only really in the police force because his dad's the.
Yeah, the fact that all of them are in the police force is asinine, but we'll get to that when they appear. Because honestly, the cast of this is incredible.
But this is what I was talking about for transitions with time.
So this is the Nicholas Angel
traveling
to Sanford.
To Sanford is that
Sanford.
I remember someone mentioning it in a YouTube video about how about how in a lot of films. I mean, it's mostly used in TV shows, but in a lot of films as well. They do a very lazy way of showing time passing, and they just do an aerial shot of the city that it's based in or something.
Yeah, and
then they'll just cut to the next scene, and that's just how they show it. But Edgar Wright knows how to do the whole, They
do that in feature films as well,
Yeah.
But I think, I've seen the same video where they say it's kind of got this distinct kind of style where...
For example, something like Godzilla will always be just aerial shots of the city.
Yeah.
It will never be anything different.
Or like a weird hard cut, and you're like, okay, why are we here right now?
Yeah, what's happening here?
It's
a
fucking
bit
daylight outside,
Yeah.
It gives you a bit of jet lag just watching it. Yeah, I get what you mean, because I saw the same video.
Yeah, because there was his phone, looking at his phone and the connection going down on his phone.
Yeah,
and then the difference in the two taxis.
Yeah,
wherever he is.
So the fact it's a great it's about a minute long sequence of just him traveling, which kind of shows just a quick way of showing someone getting to their destination without just kind of going, okay, so we're staying in London for the first 5 minutes of the film, and then the rest of the film is set in Sanford.
Yeah, it needs to seem like a long way away.
Let's tell you how long.
Yeah, and how
just tiring
how
the
long
journey
and how
was,
different
and
the worlds are, of how far away they are.
He's gone from
each
this
other.
great kind of working job, and now he's going to come to this small village to be a sergeant. But he's not happy about it, and then he gets put up in that small hotel room, and all he owns is a Japanese peace lily. It's quite depressing.
And the woman at the front desk calls him a fascist.
Yeah.
I mean, she doesn't call him a fascist, but she does.
Fascism.
Fascism. Yeah, he cracks up. This sequence is iconic when he goes into the pub and starts arresting all the kids.
Yeah. 22nd of February.
When's your birthday?
1969. You're 37. Yeah. Out.
What year? Every year.
Out. When's your birthday? Police officer. I love. Right. So we're watching the film because I own this.
Yeah,
everyone probably does or should. If we don't, get on that right now.
Yeah.
So we're in the infamous pub scene. There's one thing I want to mention is the little things in between where he always is constantly correcting people. But he does it so subtly throughout the film, and it's just the
new policeman is police officer.
Yeah.
Right.
But you don't notice it.
Okay, Nicholas. Okay.
It's not something that kind of pops in your head, really.
Yeah, until you watch it.
Until you watch it a million times, and you become a bit more aware.
I also just say one of the best shots of this film is where he looks at the kid,
the braces,
and the light reflects off his braces into his face. It's so dramatic.
I like that. That face of realization that he doesn't want to arrest these kids, but he knows he has to for the law.
Because he never switches off.
He never switches off.
He can't just
let kids underage drink.
And it's what time did you? When did you start? Tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, when do you start? Tomorrow. Well, I see you round up the whole village. Not exactly.
You've arrested the whole village.
One of the things, the twins. Did you notice that they're twins? Bill Bailey playing.
Oh yeah.
So differentiate between them.
Nobody tells me.
There's something obvious that has probably been seen on like YouTube videos and stuff, but there's the fact that they're reading. One of them's reading a book by Ian Banks, and one of them's reading a book by Ian M. Banks.
Really?
Yeah. There's like a little kind of like hint there. Yeah. Did you not know that?
No.
That's like one of those things you read in like a BuzzFeed kind of blog, and you're just like scrolling through in the night, like, oh look, 10 things about Hot Fuzz you didn't know, and you're like, oh my god, they're reading different books by different authors, and that's how you tell them apart.
Yeah.
Because whenever I first used to watch this, we were like 11 when this came out. 11.
Yeah.
Right. This film's only been out for 13 years. But yeah, so
13 years.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
13 years. That's mental. I wanted to wait till like 15 years, but I just couldn't wait 2 years to do this episode because I feel like that's a long fucking time.
No way.
It's one of the greatest comedies, possibly my top 5 for comedies. Not maybe top 10 for films though. I feel like I could be in there.
I think Shaun of the Dead's my top 5 for films
in general.
Yeah. But that's only because I like zombie films more than I like cop films. I watch a lot of zombie films, so it's just like the best zombie film out there. I have to kind of like it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's not many zombie films, other than
there's fucking loads.
That are really good. No, as in there's not many that are really, really good. There's a lot of zombie films, but they're all shit.
There's so many rubbish ones recently.
That's what I mean. There's
like
so many bad ones.
Versus zombies.
I think realistically, the only
where he kicks the baby. Is it the baby? Or a dog? Is it a baby? Like they're in like an old people's home as well, and they're like zombies get there, and he's just like.
I think it might have been the dog.
I think it was a dog.
Yeah,
I
think it was
the fuck out of a dog. Yeah,
but that's what I mean. There's no. I mean, other than Zombieland recently.
Yeah.
You know what good zombie films are there? I mean, 28 days later. 28 weeks later wasn't even that good.
28 Days Later is possibly the best zombie film ever made.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. Definitely.
And it bugs me that no, actually no. Yeah, no. I said it's the best zombie film ever made. But Dawn of the Dead, the remake is actually coming out quite close. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Like I love the original, but there's something about it's something about James Gunn wrote the script to Dawn of the Dead, the Zack Snyder film.
Fair play.
So Zack Snyder directed a zombie film with James Gunn writing it. That's I've seen it, right?
That's pretty crazy. Can we just a break in the conversation just quickly? When he's doing his morning jog, and they're all going, "Morning, Sergeant."
Yeah.
This reminds me of I don't know why every time of Captain America.
What?
When he's running with
Sam.
With Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's on your left.
On your left.
Don't say that.
Yeah. That's what it reminds me of. So maybe actually that scene in Captain America, very iconic scene, was actually inspired by
maybe
inspired.
Winter Soldier's a parody.
Winter Soldier's a parody. Fuzz. It's just...
Do you see what I do? This is what I mean, right? Do you see what I mean when I say these are not parodies? Because that's like saying, oh look, like, you know,
no, it's not.
Captain America took one
not.
little detail from Hot Fuzz, and that makes it a parody.
It's not what I mean, though. Anyway,
he's gone. Oh my god, who's gone?
Oh my god, who's gone?
That little turn he does.
Yeah, just the.
Why are you dressed like a police officer? One? Because I am one. So have you seen The Wicker Man?
The Wicker Man, no.
Have you not even the one with Nicolas Cage?
No. I've seen a lot of clips.
So like the Wicker Man, and other stories like it is kind of based on like a police officer. Right. I think I don't know if it's the original Wicker Man. I think it's the original Wicker Man is like a police officer set in like somewhere in like I don't think some island or something like that. He goes to check it out. I think a girl's been kidnapped or whatever.
Yeah.
And he goes to check it out, and he knows all these kind of weird things is going on, blah, blah. And then kind of towards the end, they tie him up. Well, they kind of lock him in this giant, like, Wicker Man kind of, like...
Oh, I've seen
style,
that, yeah.
And they set him alight. Didn't you get, like, that kind of vibe from this film? Where he kind of figures it all out, but then it turns out that, like, the whole kind of town's in on it.
Yeah, definitely.
And, you know, they try to murder him, but obviously they flip it on its ear and he fucking survives. Because obviously it's Nicholas Angel and he's badass, but, you know...
They said you were good.
They said you were good. I can't even do that accent. Jesus Christ.
Also, talking to him is an uphill struggle, eh, Dad?
Oh God. Oh, I get why they subtitled it as the Andes now.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Wow, that joke was lost on me.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
I got it.
As in the mountains?
Yeah, I got it like on that bit, but like it's just seeing it as a subtitle now. I'm like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It actually makes more sense.
Yeah, it makes so much more sense.
I was trying to think where the hell.
Yeah, uphill struggle. That's why.
Yeah. Oh, fucking hell.
I've been around the station a few times.
Oh, Doris. The brilliant Olivia Colman.
Yeah.
Oh, I adore Olivia Colman so much. Have you seen her in Fleabag?
I haven't though.
Did you not come in? I was watching. I was watching season 2
I haven't watched it properly though. I only watched that.
Oh man, like if anyone hasn't seen Fleabag, watch it. It's probably one of the greatest TV shows ever made.
Do you know what I love about this film? And it's something that hasn't been explored really that much since. Is what life outside of the big cities is like in the UK. Yeah. It's just such a niche thing, you could be going into like Summerfields or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? Summerfields is such a country like shopping centre. You would never see a Summerfields in any big cities. It's always
you wouldn't
big,
actually.
It's always Tesco or Asda or all these massive like supermarket chains. Whereas Summerfields is something. It's the kind of thing that you would only see in this specific film, you know what I mean? Is them going into a Summerfields. You would never see that in another film because all of the other films are based in places like London. I don't think I've been
to a Summerfields in, oh my God, years.
Like whenever I go down to visit my granddad in Cornwall, it's literally just Summerfields everywhere. It was brilliant.
To be fair, there was one in the Mumbles in Swansea.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's never big cities, is it?
I'm not sure if it's still there now. I think it's a co-op now. But there was a Summerfield there. And the more we say this with Summerfield, the more it sounds like it's not a real place.
Yeah. I'm starting to think, is it Summerfields?
Is it Summerfields?
It is Summerfields.
Summer or summer?
No, it is Summerfields.
It's not summer, is it? It's
as in S-O-M-M. No, is it S-O-M-E-R? Fields.
Fields, yeah.
Summerfields.
Summerfields. Yeah, so...
Your dad's episode's apples. Yeah, raspberries.
You've got a mustache. I know.
Right,
there's one thing I want to talk about as well. So, Paddy Considine, right?
Yeah.
I love him as Andy. I can't remember if he's Cartwright or Rainwright. But him as Steve... Is it Steve in The World's End?
I don't remember.
Is that his name? Stephen?
He's boring as shit.
He was
Stephen, yeah.
I'm sorry to say, but he's boring.
He was boring as shit in that film,
yeah. It's sad because he's such a great actor as well. He's brilliant in Submarine as well. Absolute cracker of a film.
Submarine,
yeah. Richard Ayoade.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about, but I haven't seen it. No, the
one that's like set in Swansea.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, because I've heard people talk about this before.
Yeah, and the soundtrack was by Alex Turner. It's like it's weird. I think Ben Stiller produced it as well. Yeah, I don't think he might actually be in the film. I can't remember because obviously he if he produces something, he has to just have it. He's always got a cameo, isn't he? He's always cameoing in films.
Who was in Swansea a couple of years ago? It wasn't Obama, was it? It was Hillary Clinton was in Swansea, wasn't she?
No, I'm pretty sure Ben Stiller. I know he produced it. Actually, the film is 10 years old this year, so maybe we'll have to do that at some point. Yeah,
very.
That is interesting. Yeah. Yeah, so Ben Stiller is in the film.
Oh,
he's a soap opera star.
Was it filmed in Swansea?
Yeah, man. Like, so one of the school that they shoot in is Bishop Gore School, which is not a school I went to, but a school that Ashley,
yeah,
everyone should know. He went to Bishop Gore School, so he went to his school. That's quite weird.
That's pretty cool.
And Craig Roberts obviously is the star. And he is from somewhere in Wales. I don't know. Newport, I think. Maybe Cardiff. Like but yeah, he's brilliant in that. And the fact that it's Richard Ayoade as well, man, and Alex Turner doing the soundtrack.
Yeah,
the fact that you haven't seen that is amazing.
I'm going to watch it.
But it's really Welsh, so if you can't stand like Welsh...
listen. Listen, right.
You clearly do, because you've been talking to me for hours and hours on end. Yeah.
Oh. Don't worry. It'll be alright. I'll watch Gavin and Stacey.
Holy shit, Melanie Waters is in it as well.
Oh my god.
So I haven't seen this film in years.
Oh my god.
It's been a while. And Gemma Chan, who's in fucking
I'm an atheist.
Captain Marvel.
Oh.
And she's going to be in the Eternals as well.
Fair play. I'm an atheist. I think I've got a cream for that.
Right, so as we've spoken about all the Cornetto trilogy films, we've spoken about Scott Pilgrim briefly and a bit of Baby Driver at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Spaced.
I know. You wanted to.
That's the end of the episode.
You wanted to shame me.
I didn't want to shame you. I wanted to.
Because
let it be known.
I am ashamed that I haven't seen it. Definitely.
So, like, you've noticed some kind of reoccurring characters, or I want to say characters, but actors in these films. Yeah. So you got Julia Deakins, who is the what's her name? The landlady of the pub.
Oh, what's her name?
She listed her age as 55 when actually I'm 53. 53. Yeah, her. So she's in it. She's in Spaced. She plays the landlord in that, who Simon Pegg and Jessica Stevenson. Although I don't know if that's her last name now. I think she's married and took another name. But yeah, so she was in Shaun of the Dead. She plays Yvonne.
Oh.
So they live together.
Oh.
Have you ever seen Friday Night Dinner?
I haven't, no.
But you know the guy with the dog, yeah?
Yeah.
He's in it, but younger and like skinnier and weirder, and he's like a painter, like manic depressed kind of guy. Lives in like the basement floor. And honestly, right, it's the funniest show you'll ever see in your life. But like you can see where Edgar Wright kind of got all these kind of like editing styles of these quick, like, rapid editing styles that kind of show patches of time, like you mentioned. Like you can see it from there,
and the really like fast close-up shots. Like,
yeah. There's loads of that, and there's one particular opening to one episode where, so the Resident Evil 2, he's playing that on this PlayStation, and it kind of comes to life, and it becomes like like he ends up being all POV kind of shots, and there's like zombies in his apartment, and that's kind of came the inspiration for Shaun of the Dead.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's some trivia for you there. Great episode, great series. You should get on that, honestly.
I definitely will now. Such a weird thing to have not base a trilogy around, but it's the fact that it's a Cornetto trilogy. Can you imagine?
Do you know why it's called that?
I don't know, actually. I want to know.
So
now.
I will get that for you now.
I mean, I know there's a Cornetto in every film, but I don't know what relevance it has for.
So there's a filmmaker, I cannot say his name, right? I think he's Polish, right? So he has this trilogy called Three Colors Trilogy, which is blue, white, and red. And that is kind of like one of Edgar Wright's kind of like inspirations for this. So when they did Shaun of the Dead and they did Hot Fuzz, they accidentally put the whole Cornetto thing in because that was just Shaun of the Dead. He put it in because that was his hangover cure.
Yeah,
but I'm not quite sure why they put it in here. I think they just kind of. Right, we got it right. The summer feels better was right, yeah. But yes, I don't know why he put it in this film, but he took the inspiration for that. So when he did the third one, he kind of thought, well, it's kind of funny. We did Three Colors. It's like the Three Colors trilogy. How about the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy?
But why Cornettos?
Well, like I said, the first film.
I understand the whole blue, white, and red thing. Which
no,
is cool.
it's the in Shaun of the Dead, he had the Cornetto because that's what he used to eat when he had a hangover.
Yeah, okay, right. I can understand that. Then.
So that's kind of what Ed eats. I'm not quite sure if Ed's hungover. I'm assuming he is. He probably drinks all day. But that was kind of like a little kind of Easter egg he put in for himself. Like, this is kind of what I would eat when I'm hungover.
I might get some Cornettos next time we go to
exactly.
Tesco.
Yeah. So that kind of started the whole thing, and then obviously he just brought it back for this one, and then he decided to fuck it and make a trilogy.
So the question is, what would your reoccurring item be?
Or in a film? Oh.
In a film trilogy. If you were to make 3 films and you would call it the something trilogy, what would be the...
Mine would probably be like... this sounds like a really bad influence because the films not themselves haven't received great praise. So like the El Mariachi trilogy,
right?
Desperado, El Mariachi, Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
Yeah,
it won't be anything like that, but it would be based around kind of music. So kind of just 3 different films about people like bands or something like that. You know, kind of like Cameron Crowe does, you know, with Almost Famous and all those.
Yeah, I get you.
But linked.
Yeah, but what would be your specific?
I mean, it would be, I don't know.
What would be your specific item? Could it be like a guitar pick?
I could maybe, yeah,
a guitar pick trilogy.
Let's do a guitar. Yeah, the guitar pick trilogy. each
cool.
guitarist in each of the bands.
They're different picks. Yeah,
or maybe
they've got
different.
They've got a little design on
the
them.
Three Guitars trilogy. Why not?
Yeah, true. I feel like the guitar pick is a bit more like.
They were like Tenacious D, the Pick of Destiny.
Oh, the Pick of Destiny.
That appears in all three of them. Pick of Destiny trilogy, yeah.
The Pick of Destiny trilogy.
The Pick of trilogy. What would yours be?
I don't know. I would think something like
Summerfield.
Summerfield.
You know, what was a Summerfield?
Oh my god. I was thinking like, just because a lot of all three of my films will have a game of beer pong in them, and the
so like it's like
and
they're all American Pie.
And I was gonna say
DVD films, are they?
And it would have like, I wouldn't know. It wouldn't be the ball, would it? I would say it'd be the cups. All the cups would be different colours in each film.
So you got blue, red, and green.
So you'd have the red,
blue,
green.
red, and white for America. Because obviously beer pong is such an American.
It's an American sport, bro.
Yeah, that actually sounds pretty good. I'd watch that. The beer pong trilogy.
No, I told you it's Pong Chronicles.
Pong Chronicles. Oh,
yeah.
That sounds like the Spiderwick Chronicles.
And then we'd have we'd have Will appearing in one of them as well.
Yeah,
and it'd be Pong Chronicles: The Ballad of White Bean or something like that.
Oh god, that could be the White Cup one. Yeah, God.
Oh my god, that'd be hilarious.
Right, let's steer this on.
Anyway.
So, how about we do what we do every week, and that is rotten reviews.
Right.
Your favorite.
Let me shit all over some of these reviews then. Come on, let me tell people how wrong their opinions are.
Right. So there's only actually 18 rotten reviews on Hot Fuzz on Rotten Tomatoes.
How many good reviews are there? Does it say? Or does it not say?
So, top critic, Fresh 185, rotten 18. That's not bad.
That's not bad, but I'd expect it to be a lot more reviews. To be a lot more, yeah. As in, like a lot more good reviews.
So this one's from Oz's World Movie Reviews, and it starts looking exactly like the film it's parodying.
What film is it parodying?
The Wicker Man, I would say. Like I said, it does start to do that. Like later on, it doesn't feel like it is, but that is definitely
but it's more...
for me. That is kind of like the scream of this film. You know, there's another film involved, but
hang on, what's happened? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there's another film involved, but I feel like The Wicker Man is my main kind of focus on what the plot is kind of similar to. The story is nothing alike.
But I'd say the reason, which is why when we've had this conversation before about parodies and stuff. The reason I think these films are so good is that because it's not the parody is not on the nose, and it's not something you go, oh, that's from that film, or that's clearly something from that film. It's a lot more subtle than that, and it's incredibly subtle to the point where you don't even really notice. Like,
it's one thing I've noticed as well. Is that you are right in that way, because they have the whole Bad Boys and Point Break being like a focus. Danny keeps mentioning those films. And
they have that pretty cool
two different shots. So the first one is from Bad Boys 2, and that's when they take it on the doctor, and he's like, "You're a doctor, deal with it." And he kind of does that kind of like,
what you thinking, pub?
Yeah, that kind of those weird shots. That is exactly the same as how they shot Bad Boys 2, and you know, and then they obviously got Danny at the end when he shoots up in the air instead of shooting Frank. Yeah. Which is okay in that case, but it's more self-aware then. So
that's what I mean. But it's a lot more subtle. Is that you don't. I think those are the only two shots in the film, really, or the only two they're the only two on the nose moments in the film, really.
Yeah.
Whereas in something like Scary Movie, pretty much every shot of that film, you're just like, hang on, this is from this film, this is from that film, this is from this film. Like, you know.
I think what I'm trying to mean is the story and the plot aren't a parody, but it has parody elements and things like it parodies things.
Do you know
in
what?
between,
actually, I was gonna say it parodies genre, whereas Scary Movie parodies movies. specific
movies.
Whereas this parodies the genre.
Cuts them into a narrative that almost makes sense.
Yeah, which is why this is
such an original story.
Yeah.
It just kind of like...
But it just parodies the genre rather than specific films.
Kind of like Kill Bill does that, Tarantino does that a lot. He doesn't really parody, he just kind of I don't want to say steals, because I don't think he's stealing. I think he just takes things that he enjoys, maybe like just certain transitions or certain editing cuts, certain cuts, just certain color palettes, anything. Like, if you could take that and if you can choose it for one snippet or one shot, you're not necessarily stealing, because you can't really steal a shot, really.
Yeah.
But I think he's just like, saying, okay, I really enjoyed this in the film, and I think I used it really well here, so I hope you enjoy it.
It makes it look better.
And I think Edgar Wright does the same thing.
Just because it's such an iconic shot, you see it, you're like, yes, it looks like Bad Boys, yes, this is cool.
Yeah, exactly. I think they just kind of take that and put it in, because that is the joke, because they keep leading up to it, and that's what I said earlier.
It kind of earns it as well.
Every joke kind of like, everything that kind of like plants its seeds for the film comes to an end. Just but like stuff like that.
It earns the right to have those shots.
When you rewatch it, you wonder why does he keep mentioning Bad Boys 2, and why does he keep mentioning Point Break? And obviously it kind of like helps Nicholas relax.
Yeah.
And that's when he becomes a bit more, open to things and
funny.
Yeah, I like the fact that like they finally dropped that joke, and they're like, okay, fuck it, we're just gonna copy like the exact same shots and do. And
that's because it earns it.
That's it. Yeah, it feels earned at the end, and I think that's what makes this film great. And
100%.
There's too many things.
The final sequence is great as well. It takes so long. It's such a long part of a film. But
I love that the whole third act is him turning up to Sanford on the horse with the glasses. And it's the whole shootout. It's just a shootout.
Yeah, yes.
The entire third act is a whole shootout. Like, how action movie can you get? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like Expendables. Like, it's like Fast and Furious.
Love me, say that you love me.
It's like Fast and Furious 6. When the entire last 45 minutes is on the plane, on the runway track to the plane, and then the last 5 minutes on the plane.
Yeah, I get you.
The longest.
In all three of the films, obviously there's a lot of parallels between the films. We know this.
Yeah.
But I notice a new one every time. And it's the stylized shots of beer being poured, are in every film.
Yeah, like the
really
cameras
cool
are underneath
shots.
the glasses.
Like the cameras underneath the glass, or like in this one where it's like it's a close up of it splashing in the glass.
Yeah, like the cranberry juice.
And the first, and in Shaun of the Dead is when they go to the Winchester the first time, and there's the cool shots of it there.
You noticed a lot more after watching The World's End today, didn't you? Because every 10 minutes is like another pint being poured.
Yeah. But they go overboard on that film a bit. I mean, it works.
It's just you can't explain it. It's just one of his kind of Edgar Wright-isms. He just loves to have this unnecessary kind of
insertion of a pub. There's a pub in every film.
I mean, yeah, but
in the last one, there's 12 pubs.
Yeah, there is 12. Oh my god, he went from like 1 to 2 to 12. Yeah. He's like, fuck it. No, there's something about it. It's kind of like the way he passes time, isn't it?
Yeah. But that's why it's such a great British film, because it's like, oh yeah, let's go to the pub. It's like, yes.
And the way he has, obviously everything is always on beat.
Yeah.
Everything is on beat.
It's great.
And we noticed it earlier with The World's End. Like, we don't want to talk too much about it, but there's one particular scene when they walk in, just after they realise that they just had the fight in the bathroom.
Yeah.
With those teenagers. And they go to the next pub, and then there's like pints lined up, and they're all lined up. And it's that shot where you can just see all 5 of them just kind of ready to sink their beers.
Yeah.
And they all just kind of like say these random things, but it like cues with this like music that's going on in the background, and they just kind of leave, and it's just incredible. I think it's when they're like slamming down the glasses, they all say something as they slam on the glasses on beat, and it's just the kind of thing you enjoy. And then obviously the way he does transitions where he uses people or vehicles or objects. So say like the camera's like dollying past something, they'll dolly past say a person walking past who walk past the camera, and then next minute it'll be in a different scenery.
Yeah,
it's those little
like we just saw there. Is the close up of the bottle of champagne, it being the cork being
everything's
pushed out as
every
well.
shot just kind of opens up into the next one without it just being a hard cut. It just kind of, it's more natural.
Yeah. Do you know what I love as well is the fake outs with Mr. Skinner.
Yeah.
Well, they're not really fake outs because he actually is a murderer. But like,
But which one was him though?
I don't know.
Like so.
Oh, it was
right.
it was the fun runner one. Because remember, he says you're utilizing your skills as a fun. Actually, I don't know.
No, I'm trying to think. So what's the first death was Martin Blower and Eve Draper.
I know who's.
I think that might have
Skinner's
been...
no Skinner's the second one. Skinner's Tim Messenger. Because remember, because he's not there because he's gone to the toilet.
Skinner is Tim Messenger. Yeah, I would believe that. So Eve Draper and Martin Blower, I think, might be the hotel owner. What's her name? Kind of her name. Hag.
Really? Why?
I don't know. I just got a feeling it's her.
But see, Skinner looks like the murderer in every single one of the murders. I think that's the whole point. Yeah, it is the whole point. Yeah, it's the whole point of his character is that he's.
Do you reckon that's kind of like maybe that's like another parody then? Like, is it?
Yeah,
can you think
I
of the top
guess.
of your head where like he's leading the wrong trail, trying to find a murderer.
But
And
whereas
it ends up being like a bunch of people.
Whereas in a lot of like crime films, there'll
like
be
The Wicker Man.
there'll be one time where they slip out, maybe slip out one bit of information that's
Yeah.
like not very obvious. Where with his one, he's just everything he says is like, oh my god, he's the murderer. Like
Yeah.
literally every bit of dialogue he has is him implicating himself.
I like this because this
it's
actually
brilliant. It's great.
The whole entire the whole size, this plot of it really fits the 3-act structure so perfectly because.
But you also know why that nobody else reacts.
You think
to
about it, right? So when does he accuse Skinner? Us probably. Yeah, when Leslie Taylor's just been murdered.
Yeah.
Because
Leslie
obviously-
Taylor was fucking murdered.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you, Daddy.
So when he goes to see Skinner at the summer field, and then he tries to reveal it with all the officers there, and then he's pulls up his trousers to reveal there's no broken glass marks or whatever, or cuts
There's
and
no
shit.
cuts from jumping over the glass.
Which proves that there's more than one person, but he doesn't figure that out yet. So he's at this point now. He's at the point of kind of desperation, or he's at that big low point.
Yeah.
Where he's like, well, I don't know what to do now. People are getting murdered, clearly, and no one else is seeing this. I have no proof now because it's you can't prove that. There's no way those cuts would have healed. Do you know what I mean? He definitely would have cut his legs and shit, And the fact he doesn't realise it. When does he realise it? It's
when they're in the corner shop and
it's just the one killer, actually.
No luck catching them killers then. And he goes, it's just the one killer, actually. And it's like...
Because that repeats the whole, good luck catching them swans, then.
It's just the
one
swan,
actually.
Yeah.
It mirrors, oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, it's great. But also, just talking about transition scenes earlier, when the rich guy...
Oh yeah,
gets hit over the head and he falls over.
And then
Simon Pegg is falling into the chair.
So he knocks him down
He knocks him down, and then the next shot is literally just Simon Pegg jumping onto the sofa, and it's
I like the one where
brilliant.
Danny says it's about to go off, and then the house blows up.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it.
But that's what I mean. There's things in this film that are very specific to this film you don't see in other stuff, like Summerfields, him wearing a Bristol Rovers top.
Yeah.
It's all about the country and just things that you'd only see in the country, and it's brilliant. I love it. This is about to go off,
and the house blows up, and then he's just like, yeah, disgusting. So you know one thing we forgot to do?
Go on.
We forgot to carry on with rotten reviews. We did one.
Yeah.
We got real carried away there.
Right, we'll bring it back.
Bring it back. Yeah. We went really far. Well, that was probably the longest tangent we've ever gone on.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. This is what the film does to you, man. It's so...
It can get you talking about loads of stuff. It's great.
So, it's finally a good one, yeah. So this is one for you. Which is just like complete... This will wind you up. So this is from Detroit News. It says... Hot Fuzz is warm at the beginning, too cool in the middle, and boiling at the end, which makes it too close to lukewarm.
I feel like people get way too engrossed in their metaphors. that they end up just saying something that doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's profound, but technically meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. What do you mean it gets hot? It gets hot at the end. What do you mean? What?
I'm assuming it's like, oh, it has a good start, but it's a bit too slow in the middle.
But why does
the end is
hot
so
mean
action
bad?
packed. I mean, right? So I don't agree with them, but I get what they mean. So instead of going from like, if this wouldn't work, because obviously if it was too cold, metaphorically, at the start, you wouldn't get through the rest of it because you would get bored by the first 10 minutes, So he's starting off nice and well with the great opening shots and all that, and then he got a point like throughout the middle. There's not a lot of action.
I think there is, though.
But there's not a lot of like kind of building up. So it's kind of like
for a film that's based on like criminals in the country, or like crime fighting in the country. There's a lot of action.
No,
scenes.
so what I'm saying is they do a really good build up, right, of the characters getting into the story and just kind of get you in there. Once it hits the story, it kind of hits like a point. It doesn't go lower. It just stays in a straight line for quite a bit until not so much the murder stuff. So when you get to like maybe like basically when Leslie Tiller gets murdered, that's kind of when it goes. It just kind of goes from like this straight line of kind of.
I do think it gets worse.
And then it just gets like woo, like just.
I do think it gets worse and worse in terms of not like as in like bad, as in like the situation gets worse and worse.
I think one of the if I had to pick a scene which I wish I could shorten, it would be the scene we are watching right now. This might not like link up to any some sort of timestamp, so this could be like any time. But we're at the scene where we're about to hit the demise of
Tim Messenger. Yeah.
So this whole scene with this like the fair, the church fair to save the church roof, which obviously ultimately gets pushed onto.
But I think this ramps up from the previous bit purely because this is where he tells what's his name?
This is a big scene. This is an important scene.
This is where he actually says yes, there's been a murder. Because before this, he's just been like he's been muttering it here and there, and then he goes, "No, someone's been murdered here. This was a murder." And
this is a kind of realization for a lot. This is kind of like the midpoint where it kind of like once all these things happen, once all these things lead up to this point, now there's no going back.
Yeah.
So once he starts to think it's a murder, right? Like you're right. There's no way in going back. Now that's his train of thought. So like he can no longer be kind of put aside of like, oh, these are some weird accidents that happened. And so far, it's been 2 people have died, and that was just
three people have died at this point.
Oh yeah, so yeah,
because there's a two at the beginning.
See the first two, that's the thing, because the first two are so obviously could be an accident, right?
Yeah, or we say they obviously
drunk.
There were no skid marks.
He could have. Yeah, I think that's kind of where he kind of like starts to have this inkling about it.
Yeah,
but obviously this is kind of sets in like turn of events where there's no way he can go back to the character he was at the start. He can only go further at this point.
Yeah,
and I think it's just perfect screenwriting.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think that's what I mean. I enjoy more than it.
It carries on ramping up. It doesn't
because. No, I mean it carries ramping up, but there is kind of a steadier pace, if you get me.
Yeah.
So like the first maybe half hour, 25 minutes, half hour, it's on like a pretty. It gets higher and higher, and then it slows down a little bit, still getting higher, but just not as the same rapid speed it was. And then as soon as he hits back in Sanford, and as soon as he utters the word morning, it just kind of shoots up to this like it ups the ante so much where it's kind of like, whoa, you weren't expecting that, because up until this point, apart from the NWA meeting again, it was like a steady pace of just like, oh, murder and another murder. But it's not saying it's good, because each kind of specific scene to those murders is just so perfectly crafted. And I think like every single time I still think it's fucking Simon Skinner who does all the murders. Like all of them.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
It's gotta be.
It looks like it's him every single time, because that's the point of his character, is to be like.
But then as they revealed in the meeting, like, it could have been Simon Skinner who murdered Leslie Tiller.
Yeah, it could have been.
And then he was the one who because obviously there was like 3 of them. Was it 3 of them? 2 or 3, maybe 4 that he used to like kind of get away, where like one hid behind the tree.
I think it might have just been 2.
I mean 2, yeah, it might have been 2. But then he would have been the one who would have had he might have been the second one.
I think he was the first one.
Because then he would have had the cuts on him.
Oh yeah,
he was the first one, so he would have been the second one, the fun runner.
The reason I was
Hence
saying
why he was fucking
but the reason I said that he was the first one because I was thinking that had to be the fun runner person anyway because they did a lot more running than the second person did.
Yeah, true that.
But yeah, you're right. If he was the one who jumped through the glass, he would have had a cut.
Oh no! Yeah,
Tim Messenger just started.
Yeah,
it's the one of the most disgusting
Splat
shots.
the rat.
Whoa!
Have you noticed that poster? Splat the rat.
No, what?
So Simon Skinner is operating a game called Splat the Rat, as he's eyeing up Tim Messenger and
I didn't even notice
Leslie
that.
Tiller. Yeah. Well, he's eyeing them up while they're on the conversation because he knows what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I meant it was that. This
is the first time he goes after the killer as well, because he can.
Yeah.
Because it happens. Because the other two deaths happen when he's not there.
Like I said, as soon as he utters the word like "sir," I think all these deaths were linked. It was a murder. That's it. This is when the story.
This is where it ramps up.
There's no going back.
Yeah.
I love it. I fucking love it.
Because he goes, now let me get this straight. Are you saying this is a crime scene?
Let's do another one.
Yeah, go on.
And another one. Okay, so for a movie based on the stunted metal development and perfect action time of American crime fighting picks, Hot Fuzz has a surprisingly little idea of how to get to his point or when.
So it's kind of the same complaint as the other one.
Yes.
Almost, but at the same...
kind of, yeah.
Although the first one was a bit stupid.
I think that's from the Denver Post.
Everything in America is more fast-paced.
Yeah, everything's fast.
You look at this.
Look at 10 coming out in 3 years.
Look at basketball, for example. Basketball's very fast-paced.
Hockey.
It does. It goes backwards and forwards. There's
Tennis.
no time to think.
Beer pong. There we go. No, I mean, there's obviously a clear difference between these films. I mean, obviously the setting where it's set, the US, there's a lot more proper action and shit, as they say.
Yeah.
Because guns are legal there, and every cop has a gun as well.
Has a tool.
I know this is a cop film. This is the only kind of reason this film works, because if it was any other kind of action film like they're set in Britain, it would either be a kind of like gangster flick.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of first and only film that I've seen.
That's why it's so unique, because most crime films, because most crime is in the cities anyway.
Yeah.
People associate, you wouldn't hear about a crime film that's being based in some Christian village in the middle of America, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's in the middle of nowhere, like, with like 10 people living in it.
So basically, right.
Or for example, in in Wales, if one of the tiny little villages in Wales, you wouldn't see a crime film be set there, because that's not where crime is. Crime is in like London. Crime is in Cardiff. Crime is in the big cities. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean.
No, like I was saying, like I was just googling just now, like how heavily based on the plot of The Wicker Man this film is.
Yeah, did it say anything?
Well, I haven't found anything about this, but there's definitely the kind of similar thing, because it's kind of like a folk horror. The Wicker Man. Okay. This is kind of similar. There's kind of like police officer, same thing. Police officer goes to a kind of island. I can't remember what it's called. Goes to a remote island, Summer Isle, to investigate the disappearance of a young girl, Rowan Morrison, of whom he received an anonymous letter. And he's a devout Christian, so he kind of goes to this kind of like island.
Yeah,
and it's kind of similar thing. So like he goes from London to this kind of new, like the country. It's something completely
somewhere
new.
Different.
Everyone's weird, and in the end they try to obviously kill him, but obviously Nicholas Angel gets away.
Yeah.
And in that film they burn him alive.
Similar to Get Out.
Yeah, it is a little. Like yeah, well, I mean, Get Out is kind of the same. It all kind of comes from that. I mean, this could come from something else. I don't know, but when I think of this film, I instantly think of that. If you were to refer to it as a parody,
Get Out's inspired by World's End.
Was it?
No, it's not. But
I mean, okay. Now that I think of it, I might be changing my mind on the parody front.
Really?
Yeah. And now that I think of it, like The World's End is clearly Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah, I get you.
Shaun of the Dead is clearly
Dawn of the Dead and other
George A. Romero films.
Early zombie films. Yeah.
I can't say exactly what it is because I've only seen a few, but Dawn of the Dead is probably the closest. I mean, that's just kind of like basing it off the name, but yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, in that sense, yeah, it is a parody, but it's created its own story from it's basically same plot but different.
But you see what I mean by it's definitely more subtle with it because it's more a parody of the genre, less about a specific film.
Yeah.
In that it's like, you know, with like I said, with stuff like Scary Movie, everything you see, you'll be like, oh yeah, that's from that film.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, the story of the guy with the ghost face mask on. Oh, that's clearly from Scream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, that's true. Yeah. Okay. No, I think we come to a conclusion on that discussion, and with that, we should do one more final rotten review. Ooh.
Give me a good one. Give me a really good one.
I don't know if you've seen this. Have you seen you've seen Grindhouse?
I have, but I don't remember any of it.
So do you remember any of the fake trailers that they made? So they had the machete, hobo with a shotgun, all these these fake trailers, and they ended up making both those films. Anyway, the Edgar Wright directed one called Don't.
Right.
Which is Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, Rafe Spall, a few others, and it's kind of like they go to this haunted house and it's just kind of them saying don't every 5 minutes.
Right.
So, but like this was going to be the review, but there isn't a scene in Edgar Wright's Hot Fuzz that is deliriously funny as his minute-long contribution to Grindhouse. But since you haven't or don't remember that, we'll do another one. Serpico meets the zombies at high noon as Pegg and Frost take a stab at the mock buddy cop movie with some funny lines but overall mixed results. That's from Monsters and Critics.
Mixed? How can you say mixed results though? Really? I think the film's pretty consistent with how it does its stuff.
I think they're still referring to maybe American action buddy cop films where you know, they're either straight up dramas or straight up comedies. There's no in between. I think this nails that like that line between, well, you know, a drama and a comedy.
Yeah, but even in scenes like this where he's chasing after Leslie Till has been murdered and he's chasing him through the
right.
garden shop. Even stuff that's as serious as this, where when he's jumping over stuff to get to the guy quicker, he's doing these really exaggerated, like, you know,
the
Hollywood,
flips.
Hollywood action flips and dives and stuff like that. So it's still got an element of comedy to it and then an element of parody to it, because you can see stuff, you know, it's more ridiculous and more exaggerated than how it would be in another action film. So it makes it look ridiculous.
No, you're right. Yeah. Okay, no, you're right.
Murder. Change the fucking
record. Thank you, Andy.
Oh my god.
There's one more thing I want to talk about before we wrap up this episode, and it's Edgar Wright's new film, The Last Night in Soho.
What's it about? Do we know yet, or is it like?
So I don't think,
because I don't know anything about this film really.
I just want to talk about what you may think it could be about. I was gonna see if there's I believe there is a short premise on it. Give me a second. So this is kind of basically what it is. A girl goes back in time to the 1960s in London.
Very strange, but go on.
So that's basically it, man. That's the only details from it.
I like that though, because that's
time travel. It's apparently a time travel horror, mysterious time travel twist. Why would you say that? Why would you mention it's a twist? Maybe it's a time travel twist, so it's not what you think. I'm wondering how he's going to do that.
It sounds unique
because this is kind
1960s in London. It's not the kind of thing that you'd expect. Oh yeah, I want to see what the 1960s were like in London. But then when you think about it, it's like, well, that would be pretty cool to see that.
Yeah.
It's not something you'd think of immediately.
I'm just curious because obviously we've seen Edgar Wright tackle zombies, we've seen Edgar Wright tackle action buddy cop, we've seen Edgar Wright tackle like alien invasion, we've seen him tackle comic book movies and animated. We've also seen him tackle kind of another kind of action movie with just car chases and stuff like that. So it proves he knows kind of what he's doing in respective genres, and this is kind of something I'm excited about purely because
It says
featuring
horror.
It's time travel.
It says horror. That's the thing that intrigues me the most.
I thought it was supposed to be a psychological thriller, but I guess that is pretty much like horror anyway.
Yeah.
I'm excited. It comes out this year, and there's no details whatsoever. I'm expecting it to come out maybe October or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think it has a release date. 25th September 2020.
Fair play. That's still quite a long time then.
The cast is pretty good. So you got Anya Josephine Taylor-Joy, who was in The Witch, the Robert Eggers film, and she was in Split and Glass.
Oh, right.
You got you got Thomasin McKenzie, who, we haven't seen it yet, but she is in Jojo Rabbit.
Okay.
Matt Smith, Doctor Who himself.
That's pretty cool.
Dame Diana Rigg.
Olenna
Tyrell.
Yeah.
Terrence Stamp, you might recognise him from a lot of things. He was in Star Wars.
Oh,
he's Supreme Chancellor Valorum.
Oh,
he's in Yes Man. He's in loads of stuff, dude. You recognise his face.
Yeah, I recognise his face now that you showed it to me. I wouldn't have known.
I imagine he's playing some sort of villainous role because he kind of looks like a villain.
Yeah.
But yeah, so are you excited for that? I'm wondering just kind of.
Yeah, I reckon it's going to be good.
What's the plot going to be? I mean, okay, so a young girl goes to the 1960s.
I don't really know much about the 1960s in London, if I'm being honest.
No, neither did
I don't know.
No, I don't know much.
I'm sure if I saw a film in it, I'd be like, oh, that's pretty cool. But like,
I'm trying to think if it's going to be in a kind of similar vein as like Green Room. You watched that film?
Green Room. Oh, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah,
I believe it's Imogen Poots, Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
That's kind of like I'm getting that vibe, and I like that film, but I don't know. I'm wondering what he's going to do because it's interesting to see him do a time travel film and how his way of time travel works.
Yeah,
I don't imagine it's going to be as complex as stuff like Back to the Future and
see, the problem with stuff like Back to the Future is it gets so complex that there's always going to be one massive plot hole with it.
Yeah.
Or there's going to be one massive problem there where you're just like, wait, hang on, none of this works. I
feel like if he kind of shortens it down to it's not so much like
he needs to try and keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Like maybe it's a fucking phone box or something like that. I'd be happy with that.
I wouldn't even say that. I would say just like
Michael finds an old phone box,
just kind of
takes
like
it back in time.
Just do it and don't explain it. It doesn't need to be explained. Like,
I think he'll do some sort of fantasy element where it would look like it could be something like that, as simple as like an old London phone box. A girl steps inside, accidentally, she presses the number. And she has to come back to the 60s in London. It's kind of like Midnight in Paris. Maybe his like ode to like Midnight in Paris in a way.
Who's
because that's a pretty good way of going in time. Remember in Midnight in Paris when he gets picked up by that kind of
who's playing the girl?
Anna Taylor-Joy.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
Yeah. I think there's two of them. I don't know which one is the Thomasin. I can't remember her name. I think there's two leads, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm excited for that. Yeah,
I'm pretty excited for that now that you've mentioned it.
With that, I think that's a perfect ending for this episode of the Conversation Is Podcast. Check us out on Facebook at Conversation Is Podcast. Same on Instagram and on Twitter at TCI_podcast. I've been Charlie Pitson.
I've been Joshy Boy.
We've been doing Hot Fuzz. And we'll see you again next week. Goodbye.